Hey there! Today we're going to be talking about allergy-friendly foods for kids. Now, with food allergies on the rise, I wanted to make this video to help you navigate the grocery store to find safe snacks for your kiddos. Now, my son has multiple food allergies and intolerances, so I have had to become a bit of an expert at navigating the grocery store and reading labels to make sure that his snacks are safe. So I hope this video will help you feel more confident in doing the same. Now, if you're new here, welcome. I am a mom of 5, and some of my kiddos have food allergies and intolerances. If that sounds like you, stick around because every week I try to bring you helpful allergy-friendly recipes, tips, and product reviews. Okay, let's get started with allergy-friendly foods for kids. The first food group is fruits. And luckily, most fruits don't have any allergens. However, there are some fruits that have either been processed or have ingredients added to them that may contain allergens, so always check the label. A couple of examples would be dried fruit that has either been sweetened or spiced. For instance, my son cannot eat applesauce that has anything added to it, not even pure cane sugar, because applesauce that has other ingredients in it often comes from the same processing plant that processes the apples for the apple juice that has been cross-contaminated with peanuts. Or another example would be dried cranberries that have been sweetened with something other than just sugar, because they processed the dried cranberries with some of the same equipment they process peanut butter. So all these things you want to watch out for when you're picking out your fruits. Just plain old fresh fruits are typically the safest. The next food group is vegetables. Again, vegetables are usually pretty safe unless they've been processed or seasoned in some way. One thing to watch out for is that some vegetables are dried or roasted with oil and salt, so they could have been cross-contaminated with allergens. Also, if you buy packaged chopped veggies, they may have been chopped with a machine that was previously used for other veggies or fruits that contained allergens. You can check the label to see if they are packed in a peanut-free facility. But honestly, veggies are a pretty safe snack option overall. They just need to be plain. Next up is protein. This is where things get a little tricky. Many popular proteins contain allergens themselves. However, there are some options out there that do not. Let's start with meat and poultry. Meat and poultry are great sources of protein, and they don't have any of the top 8 allergens. However, they can be cross-contaminated during the processing or packaging. So be sure to check labels and make sure that it says on the label that it is gluten-free, if that is something you're avoiding. For poultry, many brands will label their products as peanut-free or produced in a peanut-free facility. However, those claims are not regulated by the FDA. So this is one food that you definitely want to be cautious with because cross-contamination does happen. My personal favorite brand of chicken nuggets that are both gluten-free and peanut-free is Perdue Simply Smart Organic Chicken Nuggets. They are minimally processed, so that makes them a better choice than other nuggets, in my opinion. They also have a great texture and taste, but keep in mind that you want to always read the label because sometimes the manufacturing processes change and they have been known to cross-contaminate. Now, if you're looking for a nugget alternative, my absolute favorite go-to is turkey meatballs. Turkey meatballs are made with ground turkey, almond flour, eggs, Italian seasoning, and onion powder. We love to serve ours with marinara sauce over zucchini noodles. It is such a hit with my kids. I promise you'll want to give this recipe a try. I will leave the link below. Another good protein source is fish and shellfish. Fish and shellfish are also good sources of protein and omega-3 fatty acids. They don't contain any of the top 8 allergens. However, they can be cross-contaminated during the processing. So always check labels to ensure that they are prepared in a gluten-free facility and free from any allergens that your child is avoiding. Beans and legumes are also a great source of protein. Beans and legumes are not only a good source of protein, but also fiber and complex carbohydrates. Most beans and legumes are naturally gluten-free, but they may contain phytates, which can be hard for some people to digest. However, sprouting or soaking beans and legumes can help reduce the phytic acid content. So this is a good option for those that are avoiding gluten, but just know it might not be the best option for those avoiding FODMAPs. Eggs are an excellent source of protein and they are very versatile. However, not all egg products are created equal. When buying eggs, make sure they come from a brand that you trust, and they are free-range and pasture-raised whenever possible. Egg whites only or egg whites and some of the egg yolks are considered to be a low FODMAP food and a good option for those avoiding FODMAPs. However, whole eggs are considered to be high FODMAP due to the yolk. Eggs are also a common allergen, so avoid feeding them to your children if they have an egg allergy. Tofu and tempeh are two more options that you may want to consider. Tofu and tempeh are made from soybeans, and they are a good source of protein. However, they are a high risk of cross-contamination because they process them in the same facilities that they process peanuts. So just something to be aware of if you're trying these. Grains can be a tricky one because most grains contain gluten. However, there are some grain options that are naturally gluten-free, and they do contain any of the other top 8 allergens. Rice, oats, quinoa and corn are some of the most popular gluten-free grains. Brown rice and wild rice are good sources of fiber and nutrients. Oats are a good source of fiber and can be a good option for those that are avoiding gluten. Corn can be eaten on the cob or ground into corn flour to make tortillas, chips, or other products. Corn is also naturally gluten-free. However, it is commonly processed in a facility that processes wheat, barley, and rye. So just something to watch for. Corn flour can be very pure, and the cornstarch can be very pure. So this is why corn is still a safe option for those avoiding gluten. Dairy is another tricky one because milk is one of the top 8 allergens. Many products that contain milk also contain gluten and/or soy. So it can be difficult to find products that are free from all 3. However, there are some options out there for those that are avoiding all 3. Rice milk, coconut milk, and oat milk are some good options for milk alternatives. Just make sure to read labels to make sure that they do contain any of the other allergens that your child is avoiding. Coconut milk and rice milk are also a good option for making sauces or gravies because they have a nice thick consistency that helps thicken the sauce. Sugars and sweeteners are another tricky one because some sugars are processed in a facility that processes peanuts. So be sure to check labels and make sure that it does say may contain peanuts or tree nuts. Some options that are usually safe are granulated white sugar, brown sugar, and powdered sugar. However, again, always check the label. Other sweeteners like honey, agave, nectar, and maple syrup are usually safe, unless they have been combined with other ingredients that may contain allergens. Oils and fats are pretty easy to navigate. The most common oils and fats that are used in cooking are canola oil, olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil. These oils are usually safe to use. However, they can be cross-contaminated during the processing. So always check labels to make sure they don't say may contain peanuts or tree nuts. The last category is condiments and flavorings. This is probably the trickiest category of all because most condiments and flavorings contain allergens. However, there are some options that don't. Here are a few that we use: apple cider vinegar, liquid aminos, coconut aminos, nutritional yeast, mustard, hot sauce, soy sauce, toasted sesame oil, and of course, salt and pepper. I hope this video gives you the confidence to go to the grocery store and pick out some safe allergy-friendly snacks for your kiddos. Remember that this is just a basic guide, and always check labels to make sure that the ingredients have unchanged since the last time you bought them. If you want to learn how to read food labels like a pro, then click on the video that pops up on screen now. Until next time, happy snacking.